Mama. I'm Courtney Cecil, proud mom of two boys and an organizational culture and behavior change executive. And I'm a believer in building a movement to help the burned out, overwhelmed working moms reclaim their control and free time so that they can confidently remain in the workforce without losing the sanity or themselves. Now, let's get started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Life Management System. And I'm going to make this one quick because my Virginia Tech cookies are playing in 15 minutes. So, we're going to get in and we're going to get out. So inside this snack-sized episode, we're going to talk about disrupting the need to feel in control. I know it's something that I certainly have personally struggled with for years, and it is something so many of the moms I tend to work with also struggle with. And in fact, it is part of what keeps us hung up and it does not serve us. So we're going to get really, really deep in the topic of control. So first, before we talk about how you learn to let go, let's talk about why it matters to learn to let go, to learn to loosen your control. Because guess what, friends? As moms, we have a ton of responsibility. And somehow we need to figure out how to better distribute that. We can't control our kids. If we have figured that out, if somebody here listening has cracked that code, we need to chat. Drinks on me. We can't control our kids. Goodness knows we can't control our spouse. We can't control our roommates. We can't control anything that is not ours to own, that we are not individually accountable for, because after all, accountability is only something that can be done by you. It's not something that somebody else can do. It is a mental choice by one and only you. So we can't control anything else but ourselves, right? And even half the time, we can't even trust ourselves to control our own selves. But in order to get everything done in the day that you desire to get done, you have to figure out how to let go of control. And it is 100% uncomfortable, and I get that. But I'm going to encourage you to do it anyway, because let's I guess spend some time unpacking why it might be uncomfortable, because sometimes just acknowledging, hey, this is where I'm feeling a little stuck, can actually help you get and help give you that clarity around what might be preventing you from mounting that hurdle. Okay, so why might you not feel comfortable letting go? It could be like me, personality. So this is for all my GSDers out there that get shit doneers, like the people that are just knocking out the list and checking things off and like can't sit still. I drive my husband crazy because I cannot watch a TV show and not have my computer there, like pecking away, getting stuff done. Like, I don't know who has enough time to just sit there and watch TV. Certainly not me. So part of it might be your personality, and that personality style, that personality trait, something that is so fundamental to us. And I say this as somebody who can truly relate here. But one thing that is inherent to this personality type, the get shit doners, we have to feel that things are in control. And now it's different than us being the one to have to control it. I'm not saying that. Those are two different things. But we have to feel in control in order to feel at peace. So that might be why you are uncomfortable, because like me, you are just wired that way. Or it could be because there are, regardless if they're real or actual reality or just perception, there are societal expectations that people subscribe to that inadvertently put pressure on ourselves to feel like we need to be super moms. Or we might inflate managing the need to manage both work and home, and our ability to do that as a direct reflection on our own self-worth, which is bullshit, because no man is out there thinking that, but it happens. I know it does. I know some mom out there feels that and feels, yeah, I do feel the pressure to do it all because I feel like everybody else is doing it all. No, they're not doing it by themselves. I guarantee it. Another thing that might be holding you back from letting a little bit go of control is perfectionism. And that's another like takes one to know one. I have super high standards for myself, and And because of that, high standards for others too. Now, I grant a lot of grace, and I'm very encouraging both at work and at home, whoever's supporting me, that this is a learning journey and we'll get there. That doesn't mean I'm going to relax my standards, but it just means that yeah, I'm giving people a long leash. But regardless, I know my standards put pressure on others to perform at a different level. Some of that's healthy and some of it's not. I'm going to acknowledge that, acknowledge it about myself and what I unfortunately sometimes project on others. But so it might be your perfectionism. And I should say too, there are times where high standards really make a difference, and there are times that they won't. And we'll talk a little bit more about ways to identify that here in a bit. So, um, particularly if you are a perfectionist, there might also be an element there of you not just trusting other people, whether that be because your standards are so high or because in the past, somehow, some way you've been burned. Somebody did not perform, somebody did not deliver. You also might feel guilt. So this kind of goes back to what I was talking about around just the perception that we need to be the super mom. Well, that's fundamentally not true, but sometimes because we feel like we're putting so much into our careers that we feel obligated. We feel the sense of guilt to compensate for all the stuff we're missing in other parts of our life by doing all the things at home, wearing all the hats. I wish if you feel that for yourself, that you're able to get something out of this message and figure out how to let go of that guilt, because there are 24 hours in a day and only 24 hours in a day, and you deserve to enjoy yours as much as everyone else does. There's also, sometimes with guilt, um, something in the notion of I don't want to upset others. I don't want to disappoint others because they believe or they expect this certain brand out of me, this certain level of performance. Well, that is somebody else ruling your life. That's not you ruling your life. And that's also not fair. It's your life. You get to do you. So another thing that might keep people hold on to control is inertia. Like if we're going to call a spade is inertia. Things are in motion, will stay in motion unless you stop them. So if you have a habit or a routine that you're already grinding through, sometimes it's just really hard to take a time out and see the forest of the trees. To take that time out and say, you know what? This isn't working for me anymore. Maybe I put this process in place for a reason, or maybe this habit was a healthy habit at one time that I've outgrown, or maybe it might just be unhealthy and you completely need to cut the cord. So inertia is another reason that many working moms have a challenge letting go. And the last thing that comes to mind for me on this topic is it's just, frankly speaking, the path of least resistance. So it takes a lot of time and energy to let go of something, particularly if it's something that you are handing off to others. Sometimes we just need to stop and say, you know what? This is something we just have to be at peace with letting go of. It does not need to be done. It does not need to be on my to-do list. We just need to ignore it and say, if this ever happens in my life, then great. And if it doesn't happen, then I'm fine with that. But if it's something that does need to happen, like unloading the dishwasher, like, yeah, at some point you have to address the dishes. Um, so it has to be picked up by somebody. But if you are OCD about where things get put away, you might be tempted to think, you know what, this is something that I will continue doing because I know that I do it this way and that I do it quote unquote the right way. Um, Instead of thinking, I bet I could get somebody else there too. They might not get it right the first time or the second time, but I bet they can get there. But getting them there is painful. I'll be the first to admit that. It takes a lot of time and energy to be able to hand off tasks and to actually let something go. So, um, if reflect on those 7 reasons why you might not be letting go. Because when you unearth that and you connect with one of those, then you can start to attack that head on. Okay, so now let's talk about how we actually pivot from this notion of, well, we know that we know we need to let go of something, to how do we actually activate against that? So the first thing I want y'all thinking about is what really matters and what doesn't. Because there are some things, I guarantee it, that you have high standards about that don't matter. So, an example, and it was actually in my clients and I were meeting. We meet every Monday as a group. And just 2 weeks ago, we were having a conversation on behalf of one of my clients in particular. And I shared this example with them then. So I knew that there are some things that I'm extra good at, and there are some things that I'm not good at. And sometimes standards matter and sometimes they don't. But what really got me over the edge in figuring out how to let go of things is identifying where standards don't matter. Or where I don't feel like I need to superimpose what those standards are. And for me, that is chopping vegetables. My mom always makes fun of me, says that I'm slowest person ever in the kitchen, and she's not wrong. It's not something that I ever really practiced. I did not grow up wanting to cook with her like my sister did. I have not ever really gotten joy out of cooking. I just know what I like and what I don't like. But I know I'm slow at it, and we do a lot of home cooking because it's healthier. So I knew that if I'm not enjoying cooking and that I'm really slow at it, then there's got to be a different way than me being the one that always is managing the kitchen. And it all started, this was pre-kids, where I would have my husband, his name's Richard, he would cut every one of our vegetables. So all dicing the peppers, dicing the onions, and y'all, it was hard. I would see him and they would be all the wrong size, all different sizes, and there was shit all over our kitchen counter. Like it's everywhere. And it like I could not be in the same room with him and watch him chop these vegetables because he was just doing it all wrong. But guys, he wasn't doing it all wrong. He was doing it his way. And most importantly, I personally was not having to be the one that did it. But the reason I let go of chopping vegetables is at the end of the day, it didn't matter. They were going in a chili, or they were going in a chicken noodle soup, or they were going in spaghetti sauce. They were going somewhere and it all tastes the same. Like having the perfectly consistent size of vegetables did not matter. It did not matter that he was an absolute animal when he's cutting them and they're going all over the kitchen. It's a really quick cleanup at the end of the day. It was faster to clean up after him and he does it than, than it would have taken me to be the one chopping them myself. So as you go about your day, be reflecting on what some of those things are where your control or the standards don't really matter as much. And then when you identify those, I want you thinking about giving them away based on what I call a 10-80-10 rule. So what I mean by this is you as the visionary, as the strategist, as the one who cares, the one who wants things in control in order to be at peace. So you're the strategist on the front end. You own the first 10%. So that means you're setting clear expectations on when something gets done or how it gets done, what the thing is, what your vision for it is, how you expect it to come together. So you've got the first 10%. Then you hand over to somebody else and you delegate whatever that thing is. You let them go ham, let them get their thing done, and then you button up the details at the end. So it's kind of like um, a bookends. You are bookending, right? You are the one who kicks it off and who ends it. So pulling on that thread of cooking. I like a lot of spice. So oftentimes I'd have other people cook stuff. I would do the strategy. I'd pick the meal. I'd pick the specific brands of what we'd be cooking with because I'm particular there as well. I delegate the task over, and then at the very end, I'm the one coming back in and adding the spice. Or playing off an example that I think will relate with many of you. It's like your kids decorating the Christmas tree. So your kids often aren't the ones going out and picking the lights and or let's see, picking out the decorations or whatever it may be. That's you. You're the one setting the strategy and vision. And then you have your kids decorate it. They get to be festive. You get to play the music, whatever it may be. And then you come back at the end and make sure that there are ornaments at the top half of the tree that they can't reach. So that's like the 10-80-10 at play. Um, but the biggest thing when you share with others, when you delegate pieces of that out, somehow, some way you have to relax your standards. And guess what? Even if you're not delegating, there are probably ways that you can relax your standards. So think about the things that you do on a day-to-day basis that fundamentally just don't matter, that you are making and inflating into something where good enough could have been good enough. I always call it a B minus mindset. So I tell the girls inside my program that many of them, actually, that's not true. Not many of them. All of them have very high standards. They are A plus plus players. And that's exactly why they're working with me because they know that they can't sustain their standards without burning out. Um, but one of the things that we work on inside our program is figuring out where you can relax some of those standards, where you can let a B minus be enough. So, as an example, I keep an incredibly immaculate house. It is always clutter free, it is always clean, but there is one exception to that, and that is my own bathroom. My husband and I, inside our master, we custom built our house, so we have the flexibility to do this. But we built a his and her bathroom. So I've got my own bathroom. He's got his closets, Richard's closets inside his bathroom, and my closets inside mine. What that does for me is it allows me to relax the standards in ways that it won't impact anybody else because that is my mess, my problem, and it kills me. It absolutely kills me that I'm going to bed at night and I haven't put all the clothes away that were folded from the dryer earlier. Or I kid you not, it is now September 21st when I'm recording this. I got a box of things like a kit from Richard for Christmas. For Christmas, guys. That was almost 9 full months ago. And it's still sitting on the stool in my bathroom. It's like, it's driving me nuts. But that's an example of relaxing my standards because short of relaxing my standards, I'm not getting to bed at night. So the other thing I want you thinking about is repeatable systems because repeatable systems will allow others to actually gain muscle and give you the confidence that you can let something go. So figure out where you can let things go. And then as you give people training wheels, as you start to let go, figure out what kind of controls you might want to put in place too. So that way you can trust that it's actually getting done and getting done the way you need to. Okay, so I hope that gives you some nugget to think about. I know this is a journey for me. I am constantly working on figuring out how I can be more at peace with letting go of more, where I can relax my standards, figuring out what I can, spreading the love of all the stress I put on my own shoulders. But at the end of the day, I know that's self-imposed pressure. So going back to where we started around why, getting clear on why I have a hard time letting go, that helped me get to where I am today. So now that you've heard the whole episode, if you need to go back, rewind, and start all over to that list, I encourage you to do that. And I encourage you coming off of this call, think of one single thing, just one that you can let go of. And I want you to commit to it. Whether it be something that you hand over to a partner or a roommate, or something that you completely just wipe the slate clean on, you erase it from your mental to-do list. Find one thing that you can let go of, and I want you to try it. Try it on for size, see how it feels, and don't touch it. Don't pick it up and save somebody else from it for a full month and see what happens. Find your wild hair, mama. So anyway, thank you again so much for being here today. I am going to drop a link to a free training that I hosted this past Monday in the show notes. I would love if you listen to it. I talk about this very thing inside that training in a much more detail. I hope that you get great wisdom from that. If you like what you're hearing, I would really appreciate it if you share it with a friend, subscribe, rate and review us. That's how I'm going to start getting traction. But until next time, my friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama.